and welcome everyone to this week's edition of the SFL podcast, presented to you exclusively by APM Music, live, or I guess not live, through the power of YouTube. We were not put up on the web last week, that was just some errors. Do not worry about that, folks. We are not just going to disappear off the face of the planet. We're still going to be chugging along with all the fantastic SFL action that we always do throughout this fine season of ours. And speaking about this fine season of ours, it's getting closer to the end, and you can start talking about playoffs. But first, before we get to the playoffs, let's talk about some games that are happening. First up, we got London traveling all the City Corsairs. Queen City is now number one in the East after Carolina took that loss last week, and London got their second win of the season over the same team they beat in the first game of the season that they beat by one. So, yeah. Ryan, we're going to start out with you over here. Uh, how does it feel, or how are you going to be feeling about this game in particular? Do you think the Queen Cities is going to extend their lead in the East with this one?
Um, I feel Queen City is going to be coming out in front some more. London, the only two wins they've gotten were against the same exact team, and against everyone else, it just seems like they just kind of fall flat, or one part of their offense or one part of their defense shows up, and the other one decided to stay back in the locker room and just kind of not show up to the games. Um, so just one that's just kind of one issue I have there. Queen City also, I mean, they're number one in that conference for a reason. I mean, the team is really well rounded. They do a really good job of getting Ash Odom involved in their offense. They do a really good job of getting AJ Caswell in a rhythm early and often, so he completes pretty good percentages of his passes. I mean, they average over 30 points a game. Uh, it's just 30 points a game for them, 13 points a game against them. So I mean, they're firing on all cylinders at the right time here. With only being 7-1, it's very possible that if Carolina doesn't start winning their games again, that Queen City runs the table the rest of the way and ends up being 11-1 and on top of the Eastern Conference there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a team like Queen City, I think at this point in the East, it's just down to Queen City and Carolina. And at this point, due to how the tiebreakers, I think, are between those two teams, it's probably just going to end up with Queen City as the winner of the East. That's my podcast pick, the PP. Um, but now we're gonna head out west. The second edition of Vice Wars. War, war. That's right. Denver is gonna be heading down to Las Vegas for the second edition of their nice little rivalry they're having with each other, as everyone just kind of looks at it through, I guess, snow globe or something. Las Vegas took the first win ever in the series last time these two teams met, 18-15. Ramos. These are two teams that are not only intense rivals with each other, but are essentially in terms of the Western Conference standings. How big of a game is this going to be for the Western Conference standings wise? And, well, of course, who's going to come out on top? The second edition of Vice Wars.
This is a huge game. I mean, whoever loses is probably like not officially, but probably out of the playoff race because you have in the same division, you have Alaska, you have us, you have Sioux Falls. I mean, Alaska's already 7-0 and or 8-0 rather, and we are 5-2. So whoever loses this game is gonna drop under 500, and it's not gonna be easy to climb back. So this is a huge game, and if I have right now to pick a game, I think that Las Vegas is a little bit more solid. It's a more solid team, and I think that they can sweep this season. I like Robert Bedford against their. I mean, their defense is good, but I don't know. I think that Robert Bedford will be able to run the ball well against them. Probably get a couple of big runs. And as far as Denver goes, I mean, they need to have a lot of production out of Jared McChesney. They can go ahead and give him a couple of 40+ yard runs. I mean, they will have a good shot, but I think it's gonna be close again, just like the previous game where it was decided with a safety at the end, and it was such a bizarre ending. I think that something similar will happen as far as the scoring goes. Um, so I think that Las Vegas will be able to win again, probably something like 17 or 13. Um, and it's gonna come down to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I think that Las Vegas definitely has the edge. What they need to do is find a way to have a balance on offense and defense because some weeks they're just a powerhouse on offense, and then other weeks they're really solid defense. Last week they wound up getting a loss to Sioux Falls, but they actually looked pretty good in the late third quarter. I'm sorry, late third quarter into the fourth quarter. So I think that Denver has a tall order here. And hosting Las Vegas.
They're actually on the road heading off to Las Vegas.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, they're heading down to the Sin City, and I'm hoping that Jeremy and the boys aren't going to be spending all the previous night gambling and drinking. Good for you, kiddies.
I mean, they don't call 'em money hands for nothing, right?
Good point. Good point. Uh, I mean, hey, I was the guy who had to bunk with Jeremy at the convention. I know some things about him. Actually, not really. Uh, that's beside my point. Ugh. You know what? We're gonna keep it out west, okay? We're gonna keep it out west, and this time we're gonna be heading it off to the Bay Area of San Francisco, California, with the Sioux Falls Sparrows, who are now number 2 in the West after last week's game between Alaska and Mexico City ended 12-3. I swear that looks more like a rugby league score than an American football score, where Alaska just out Mexico City Mexico City. Um, but that's the point. Uh, Sioux Falls, as I said, number 2 in the West. San Francisco, kind of in a similar position where they were last season, kind of heating up, but not really. Just not much is working for them. Ryan, I'm going to head this one back over to you. This game is very crucial for Sioux Falls if they want to really establish themselves as the second place team out west. Do you think they're going to have the chance to do that, especially against a team like San Francisco?
Yeah, Sioux Falls is definitely trying to work on establishing themselves as that number two seed, try to keep themselves above Mexico City. Um, San Francisco, I don't. The defense is actually one of the worst scoring defenses in the Western Conferences. Um, Granted, the Sioux Falls offense is kind of middle of the road there. They're not top, they're not bottom. I think they're pretty much actually right smack in the middle of the conference there. And I'm thinking that they're going to be able to still continue on, and they have a two-game winning streak going on. I think this week pushes them up to 3 games. Nothing against San Francisco. It's just they seem to have had kind of a run of bad luck on some of their things. Rob Roby came in. He provided a spark. It looks like the sparks kind of faded a little bit after now having a 3-game losing streak. And I'm hoping that they're able to turn it around and actually give themselves a really really good end of the season here. Um, I don't see it happening in this week. I see the Sioux Falls Sparrows getting Colin Hart involved pretty heavily this week, and I feel Sioux Falls is going to take this over one. It's, it's just I'm not so sure about San Francisco being able to take it out this week.
Now, actually, Rob, I'm going to swing this over to you. Your Dark, or
Yeah,
you're probably one of their most
your
well-known
mic
players.
is like in and out.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But yeah, I'm gonna swing it over to you. So, Rob, what has kind of been your prep going in, or even just kind of how are you feeling about this as a San Francisco Shark?
Well, you always got to pull for your team, so I'm hoping that we can pull out and here. I think that something that's definitely a positive side for the Sharks is that we have been on defense the last few weeks, and we've in key areas, and we're going to continue to um, uh, make sure the defense is be able to keep us in the game. The offense, on the other hand, is it's kind of a big old bus that we're trying to get going right now. We're loaded in offense, but we can't seem to find the pay dirt as much. And so I think that that's something going forward that we're going to have to work on. But there's hope in San Fran, man. You know, a lot of guys counted us out after we got destroyed and to the game on. I think we've even though the record doesn't show it, I think that we have established ourselves as a definite threat, and we've been in some very close games with some good teams, just like last week. We got another onside kick, pulled out, almost tried to get that win, but didn't suffice. But we're a tough team. You don't want to come into the Shark Tank and just think it's going to be all gravy, So we'll see how it goes. But I think that we're gonna definitely come prepared to play against Sioux Falls.
Awesome. I always like that sort of confidence right there from any team, especially in the position that San Francisco is in, going up against one of the strongest teams in y'all's conference. So with that, now we're gonna head out east to St. Louis, Missouri, where Carolina, coming off their first loss of the season against Chicago of all teams, is going to be heading over to St. Louis, who London again by within a field goal, or yeah, by within a field goal. I mean, last time it could have been one-off field goals, but y'all get my point. So with that, Ron, I was going to send this one over to you. Carolina looking for some major revenge against a team that is, I think, just at the wrong place, wrong time. Do you think Carolina is going to be able to really whoop St. Louis is going to really stand up to Carolina and almost put the Skyhawks into a tailspin?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna be the first one. I think it's gonna be Carolina just bouncing back. I still like that team a lot. I mean, they lost, yes, but I still like that one of the best running backs in the league. They still have a quarterback that is playing pretty well. And I really like their defense. Their defense is really fast. They have really good safeties. So I like Carolina to bounce back, and I think that Carolina will be able to bounce back and win with they will be able to go ahead and just start probably not from the first quarter, but in the second quarter they will start to dominate, and they will probably win by 13 or 14 points.
All righty. So now, finally, before we head in to the prime for this week, we have Chicago traveling over to Indianapolis, who I think, now I can't confirm this for certain, out of playoff contention already, just due to the way that their schedule is broken down. Meanwhile, Chicago is actually tied amongst, I think it's looking at this last night, they're tied for 10th place in the SFL. However, currently the break is going in favor of the Las Vegas Fury. So, Ryan, the battle for Lake Michigan in this chapter, Chicago is looking to finally get itself going in Earth, while Indianapolis, I think at this point, is just trying to save face. Do you think Chicago is going to really strengthen their wild card hopes, or will Indianapolis get that precious second win of the season?
Um, this is actually an interesting one that I was kind of looking at earlier. The Indianapolis Red Devils actually have, although they're only 1-7 in the season, they actually have the best passing defense in the SFL. Um, the only mark on them is their rushing defense, which is actually the second worst in the SFL. So while they have a really great pass defense, the rush defense is what's been really letting them down. Um, and if you're going to have one good aspect, you got to make sure that that other aspect doesn't just kill the game for you. And unfortunately, that's what's been kind of happening to them. Granted, they've only been allowing 20 points per game, so I mean, that's not bad at all for them. But then on the flip side, that also means that their offense has been averaging less than 20 points a game. And that comes down also, although they have the best passing defense, they have one of the worst passing offenses in the league with only 213 yards a game. That's something that's going to need to be corrected if they're going to get that second win of the season for them this week. I'm not thinking this is going to happen against Chicago. Chicago has definitely been looking a little bit better. They were able to get a win last week and put them up to 3-4 and kind of put them in prime position and striking position there for that for one of the wild card spots. Um, I'm thinking that continues. I think they push their win streak from 1-2, and I think that's going to help out with their chances here. How the tiebreakers play out and how everything kind of plays out the rest of the way, we'll have to see. But I got to give this game to Chicago. Um, I just can't trust the Indy defense or that Indy offense to be able to stop Chicago. Although Chicago hasn't had the greatest offense as well. Um, they have been a little more efficient than the Indy Red Devils have in the passing game. They both actually average about the same yards per game total, with about 20 yards difference between the two. The biggest difference in the two teams is the third down conversion rate, where Chicago has 47% of their third downs converted to first down, and Indianapolis are actually at 37%, which also is last in the league. Um, so if it's going to come down to one team or the other, I got to give it to Chicago. They're able to keep their drives extended. They're able to work their way down that field and get themselves into scoring position. And I don't see that with Indy's offense. So I got to go with Chicago.
What I would like to see is I'd like to see Indianapolis come out with a different game plan this week. Just go just very bottom of the league right now, and it doesn't look good as far as a playoff run. I think they should just play spoiler, go to the playbook, pull out just the craziest formations, the most riskiest stuff, man, and just go out there and just see if they can get some upsets. I'd really like to see Tom Pepper get a little bit of fire under him for the rest of the season, and also to see the offense get going a little bit. And that defense definitely is a decent defense. So hopefully we can see them, do pull some upsets out of here, man. You never know what happens down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, if memory serves correctly, last season Oklahoma City was, practically speaking, eliminated from the playoffs. Then they kept winning, they got some big wins, and next thing you know, they were 5-7 and in the playoffs, the first time in 4 years. Then they lost to Mexico City, and no one really talks about that. Speak of Mexico City, we got Mexico City and we got Houston both facing off in the same game here, folks. Now, folks back at home, I was planning to make this a rap battle in order to try and determine who's going to win this game between Ramos and Ryan, because you know what? This is just a prime opportunity to insert a good old fashioned rap battle. But just due to reasons and the fact that that is absolutely ridiculous, we're not doing a rap battle, unfortunately, much to everyone's chagrin. But Rob, I'm going to send this one out over to you since you're the only neutral party here before I get into the two team representatives. As a neutral party, Mexico City, they're into the Western Conference top two. Meanwhile, Houston, they're just trying to hold on to any sort of semblance of a wild card potential. Do you think Mexico City is going to take the win and hopefully secure a second place spot out west, or will Houston secure a win and get themselves, if not into the wild card spot, and maybe even hopefully some breathing room in that wild card?
I can't even look at stats on this one right here. I just got to go with what I know. And what I know says Matt Wilson and Ray Bentley are putting together something remarkable right now. And we don't even have to look at the stats to know that that they're winning games. They're 5-2, and I think that Mexico City is probably going to have a landslide of a win this week. If the hyenas are able to counter what they got going on in what MXC has going on in the running game, then it's very very possible if they can limit Matt Wilson from rolling all over these guys. Then they may have a chance. But to me, it just looks like Mexico City is just has they have all the right game plans. The defense, comes through. The offense is coming through. The special teams is dangerous. I mean, they just have a very good balanced team. So I look for Mexico City to be 6-3 by next week. And but I do see Houston putting up somewhat of a fight. Hopefully they can get Quintez going. Maybe they can pull out the upset. But right now Mexico City is just looking like hot fire right now. So that's all I have.
So in this theoretical rap battle, Ramos would have won. But Ramos, I speak your name. Now you have to talk. What is being into this game, especially now that you're in a position where you have to fight for your right to be within in the West?
This is gonna be a really good matchup. We were divisional rivals with Houston a few seasons ago, and the games were always very close, and it was coming down to the end with an incredible play. I remember once we dropped an interception, and out of the bounds, the wide receiver caught the ball, and he got like 50-yard touchdown. I think it was DR Sam, probably was. But what I'm trying to say is that when you have these two teams face each other, you can always expect something strange or to happen, and I think it's going to be a good game. For us and for us to keeping it close and to win this game, we need to be better running the ball than we were last week. Last week we were okay at some points, but we got tackled for a loss of yardage in a few occasions, which led to second and 12s and third and 11s and so on. So that's why we were not able to get first downs consistently. As
Never
far
mind
as
that Ray
Houston
Bentley
goes,
kill.
right, yeah, exactly, yeah. So as far as Houston goes, they need to play well on the front four. Chat tackle needs to have a big game, and on the outside, a big matchup between their corners and our receivers. We have very talented receivers, and they have very talented secondary, led by Ryan Michaels and Eddie Gage. So, obviously I cannot leave the other guys out, but those are the veteran presence. Eddie Gage, for example, has been here for many, many, many seasons. So, and he's the D coordinator. So I think it's gonna be a game where it's gonna be close and potential. You never know. Potential overtime. I don't know, something like 20-17 or 21-14, like 21-15, something like that. Um, so it's gonna be a good matchup where I think that both running backs need to play well for their teams to be successful and come away with a victory.
Ramos, when you first said after overtime and you said 20, I was like, Ramos, are you saying 20 overtimes? Because I think at that point we would just call it a draw. Or actually,
Nah,
here's a
no
question:
draws.
how
Fight
far
to the
does
death,
APF
Thunderdome.
go with overtime?
I'm
Okay,
pretty
this
certain it's literally just fight to the death, Thunderdome. I don't think we've had anyone past, I believe, 2 overtimes. I
well,
could be
there's only
wrong,
one.
but
Yeah, well, I mean, the only way that we would really find that out is just if we made two teams, made them as equal as possible, and then just had them go at it, and then just see how long that lasts. I think that would make everyone tune out as quickly as possible. Ryan, as you were saying, um, take us through the Houston Hyenas and their mindset coming into this game against Mexico City with a pretty big playoff implication here for the wild card.
fight to the death, Thunderdome. Go for the throat. Knock Ray Bentley,
Thunderstones.
knock Ray Bentley out. Um, I think that pretty much covers it. Make Warren Murray look like an altered beast himself. I think that's about it. I don't know, honestly, for real, I think what's going to be really helpful for us is we really got to get good gosh, I can't speak, Warren Murray going again. He had a pretty good week this last week, and I think it was like 20 something carries for 140 yards. He averaged about 7 yards a carry. He's going to be a key part of the offense this week. It's definitely going to be what we're going to try to be keying on for our offense is use that run to open the pass up, I believe. And on the defensive side, it's got to be, it always is, and it's always got to be about Ray Bentley. You got to make sure you keep him in check. He has the ability to take over a game just with the snap of a football. I mean, he could be gone for a 60, 70-yard run, and you wouldn't even know what happened, other than the bodies laying across the field as he ran through. Um, but no, with no disrespect to Matt Wilson either, but I mean, he's Ray Bentley is just of another level running back. He's had a little bit of slow start to the season. He's kind of slowly gotten it better as he's gotten on. Matt Wilson, you guys, like Ramos said, you guys got some talented receivers over there. It's going to be really hard to keep them shut down all game long. I expect a few big catches. I'm just hoping that one, they're not against me, and two, that they're not for touchdowns. I mean, I'll give up chunks of yards, just no touchdowns. Um, but I almost want to. I can't go against my team, so I gotta say we're gonna win. But it is gonna be a dogfight in my opinion. I think it's gonna be a really close game actually. I know the records show that it should be Mexico City by a landslide, especially with the defense you guys got over there. But I feel like this one's going to be close. I feel like it's going to be stuck within about probably 3 to 7 points. Literally, a field goal to a touchdown is going to decide the game, and I'm excited. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, it's gonna be Thunderdome or Thunderstone, I guess, which sounds like the name of one of those like really crappy Yu-Gi-Oh knockoff card games that
Oh
like
yeah,
were
come on now.
popping up everywhere. I'm like,
I throw down my
what?
thunderstorm. Here comes the boom.
Well, let's just hope that Ray
No, it's
Billy
like one of those like
Thunderstone.
knockoff like there's like a whole knockoff card game thing itself, like Chaotix or something. That was how I'm
Yeah,
a
I can
2000
see how you
kid or
say that. All right.
something. I grew up in that age. No, I didn't. I grew up like I don't know. I grew up this decade, really. If anything. But anyways, since now that game's out of the park, we're heading to. We got Atlanta taking a trip on down to Tallahassee, Florida, to take on the Tallahassee Pride. Tallahassee has essentially just kind of run away with the conference. Meanwhile, Atlanta, sure they're in second, but they are in a bit of a dogfight now with Tulsa of all. Or actually, no, I think they actually lost at this point to Tulsa. Let me fact check myself there, real quick, folks. I mean, holy moly, how could I not remember these things? Give me one quick sec.
Yeah, so right now it is Tulsa actually the number 2 seed, with Atlanta 3, Houston 4, and New Orleans number 5. Um, Basically the entire conference is like gridlocked outside of number 1 and number 7.
Yeah,
Everyone's
okay.
within basically a full game, 2 through 6. Tallahassee's up there 7-0, and then Dallas is down at the bottom, kind of playing in the mud, I guess, with their fellow Wolf brothers.
You see, Steve Molnix is actually Wolf. But yeah, so and now that also creates a weird little thing where you can say that Tulsa and Tallahassee are in the top two. Just too many T sounds in one sentence. Fifth in conference. Repeat first down. Anyways, that's me getting sidetracked. Yeah, so Tallahassee's running away with it. Atlanta's now in third, and they're gridlocked with Tulsa. Okay, are we all caught up now with the anime? Okay, good. Let's go. So, Rob, I'm going to swing this one out to you first. These two teams are quite intense rivals, and Atlanta's trying to get back into the top two. Do you think that Atlanta's going to be the one to pull off the upset against Tallahassee?
We would hope that they're able to do that, but if I'm going on my gut instinct, I think Tallahassee has this. At 4-4, this is a horrible game at this point for now. Been playing Inioli and those boys out there. I think that what they need to do is uh, again, I'm gonna say I think I said this last week as well. They have to get BDG Hollywood into the running game more. If I were them, I would be as conservative as possible. Not don't try to get into a shootout with Tallahassee because Tallahassee can put up 40 points in no time. Yeah, I think that they have a tall order right here with Tallahassee, and I think that again it comes at fortunate for week 8, week 9 going, and this is just not the game that you want to have right now. This is probably one of those games you wish you had earlier in the season or something like that. So I think I'm gonna have to push this for Tallahassee.
All right, now we're going to take it over to Ramos. Ramos, as we all know, these two guys were our conference rivals last season. Obviously, different story. Do you think that Atlanta is going to be the one to pull out against Tallahassee, or will Tallahassee just continue destroying the entire Southern Conference existence?
Well, I mean, I think that Atlanta, it's like to a degree, can match up well against Tallahassee. I mean, the last game it was really, really close where Atlanta probably should have won, but Marcus Dunhill threw two pick sixes. Um, so it's gonna be really close. I will still go with Tallahassee. The reason why is because they will play in Tallahassee, and I think Yaya and Yola will be able to run for maybe about two or three big runs. And I think that I really like Marcus Dunhill. I've said it all season long. I really like him. I think he's a really good quarterback. But I think against this defense, at this very talented secondary and this very talented like defensive unit, they are very opportunistic. That's what they are. They just take advantage of getting interceptions and they just make the picks. And then offensively, they just do not forgive. They just go ahead and either throw the ball to Kenny G deep or they just hand the ball off to Yaya and Yola. He runs for like an 80-yard touchdown. So I think that if Marcus Dunhill is not careful, I think the Tallahassee will be able be able to win this game convincingly if Marcus Dunhill is careful with the ball. I think they have a legitimate shot, but still, I will go with Tallahassee. High scoring affair, probably 31-23.
Alrighty, and now finally, Ryan, will you give Tallahassee the podcast sweep, or are you going to be a rebel like you always seem to be?
As much as I want to be a rebel, and as much as I really want to say Atlanta would win, based on how they played against each other the last time in Atlanta versus Tallahassee, I do have to give it to Tallahassee. Um, Yaye and Eniola. I mean, Ray Bentley, season 9. That was the epitome of a power back. You wanted him on your team. He was running people over. He got the ball, guaranteed at least one, maybe two broken tackles. I feel like that is Eniola this week, and as Christensen loves to call him Semioniola. He hit the ball, and you very likely could see him in the end zone after dragging like 7 people down the field with him. He's small. He's got a low center of gravity. He uses it very well. He just runs straight through people. Um, and then you have those wide receivers. You got Ken Gossett. He's constantly in position. He's constantly getting the ball and just going way right down the field. And it's just either one of them. You throw either one of the ball, even on a screen pass to Aniola, and you could have them either in the end zone or about 80 yards downfield, finally being caught by a defensive back. Um, for Atlanta, it's going to boil down to Marcus Dunhill for me. He's had kind of a rocky rookie season, and he, last time they played against Tallahassee in Atlanta, he wound up with those two pick sixes, like Ramos said, and it was just kind of a backbreaker. I feel like it might have been a little bit of a coaching error, but at the same time, there were some ill-advised throws. Is and even if even then, I mean, I don't want to say a rookie should go against his coach, but if you guys are leading like that and you're that low, that far back in the game, I'd almost audible to a run play. I mean, I don't want to say go against your coach or anything like that, but go against your coach in those positions. Sometimes they want to try to run the score up. They want to make a statement against those power teams, and Tallahassee's definitely one of those power teams. And so it's just one of those things that you got to have better judgment on it, and you got to know what time and how much time's on the clock. You got to know what's going on there. And as much as I want to say Atlanta, I got to go with Tallahassee. I don't see it being as close as it was last time. I don't see the defense having to bail Tallahassee out this time, and I'd probably go around. Oh gosh, I'm gonna give Tallahassee probably about 35 to 21, maybe.
Yeah, I'm
Alrighty, so
seeing
oh,
something
go ahead, Ryan.
too. Yeah, I'm seeing something. This guy Siege Falco, man. Dunhill definitely has to get him more involved. Mid-season, Siege Falco was doing very well. He was averaging double-digit numbers almost in the receptions and stuff like that. So I think that what they need to do is get that big 6'4", 205 receiver out there into the open and see if they can get him more active inside of the passing game along with that running game going on. So if they can do both of those things, I think that they have a chance. But again, I'm going with the sweep of Tallahassee.
Alrighty, so with that, we now head off to Saturday nights in another Southern Conference clash between Dallas and New Orleans. First off, why the heck is this in prime time? Like, okay, I'm actually going to retract that a bit. New Orleans is in actually one of those playoff positions. As you said, Ryan, everyone in the Southern Conference except for Tallahassee and Dallas are in an absolute gridlock at the moment. And New Orleans, how I did not list them? Yeah, they're one of those teams in that gridlock. Ain't that funny how this all worked out in the end? Um, Dallas, it's a it's a second consecutive year of just this underperforming sort of team. Uh, and I think now's the time for them to start playing spoiler. So, Rob, do you think Dallas is going to start their spoiler streak, if you will, against New Orleans? Or will New Orleans get a ever so valuable win in the search for the wild card spot?
Oh man, I think New Orleans has it all going on. They're out there with that empty and five wide set, and they're just throwing that ball around. They're using that heavy to their advantage. They're just not afraid. They're just flexing. They're still a very young team that's just acting like a veteran group out there. I mean, they're just. I mean, every time I look up, they're just airing it out, airing it out, airing it out. Um, I think that New Orleans is going to get the break this time. I think they're going to end up being 4-4. I see them beating Dallas. I don't want to say a landslide, but I think they're going to edge it out. The only thing is that they're probably going to get their defense is going to be tired as I don't know what with a thousand passes going on, every play. So hopefully Dallas gives them a break and sprinkles in some of that run game, which we haven't seen this year. But I think that New Orleans is going to pull this out. They just have been looking pretty good, and they're definitely on the rise right now. Young superstar team, just not afraid to take chances, man. I like that kind of ball.
I, 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 I'm feeling it right there. So now, Ramos, I'm going to pull it over to you. Do you think that Dallas is going to start that spoiler streak, or is New Orleans going to pull out this one?
I think that New Orleans will be able to come through. I like Dallas's offensive juggernaut to a sense, but I think that they do need a little bit more balance. I mean, Michael Osai has a lot of catches, and that's great and all, but it seems that they, at some points, it just comes across to me that they cannot play situational football at some points because I've seen like times where they are like in third and short or like second and two, and they just instead of probably handing the ball off to the running back. I know that the running back is starting to progress, and he's a running back that it needs to, a little bit of work and everything. But I think that if you give the ball to your running back in those second and one, I mean, I'm pretty sure he will be able to convert on some, and it seems just that sometimes Synergy throws the ball just too much, and to play good situational football. So with that being said, I like New Orleans just a little bit more. They need to be ready against that throw. I mean, they need to cover Osai. They need to be ready against Shabazz Synergy throwing the ball all over the yard, and they need to put some pressure on them. I think they will be able to put in some moderate pressure on him, and therefore I liked New Orleans to probably get a couple of interceptions and try to convert them into touchdowns. So I like the Pharaohs.
But we definitely want to shout out Osai too, man. This guy, 7 games, 111 receptions, 1343 yards for the year, 10 touchdowns, man. Jeez. That's an air assault right there, man. So we definitely got to watch out for Mike Osai.
Yeah, mega shout out to him. Now, Ryan, are you going to be Rebel Ryan once again, or are you going to go with the flow here?
Um, decisions, decisions here. Um, I think I'm gonna have to go with New Orleans here. Um, honestly, in outside of week 3, the only time the team has scored over 20 points or equal to 20 points were the last 2 weeks that they played in. And week 3 was when they scored 34 points. Last week they scored 28, and week 7 they scored 20. So in their 3 wins, they've averaged over 20 points at least. They've averaged, I'm going to say, probably close to about 28 points, 29 points a game, somewhere around in that range. Um, in their losses, however, they've only averaged about 11, 12 points. So if they can put those points up on the board, it generally leads for them to be able to hold on to a lead. It's just their offensive struggles. They had one week, I believe it was back in week 6, they lost to Atlanta, I think 10-6. Um, and it's just New Orleans has got to be able to put those points up on the board, and that's basically what it comes down to. Now they are fifth in the conference at 3-4. Their offense, like I was saying, it is the lowest points scored per game, the lowest total points for by actually quite a wide margin, by about 51 points. And what's been able to keep them in games is that they actually have the second best defense per points in the Southern Conference at 172 points. The furthest one down there is 129 for Tallahassee, and the next one right above them is 176. So I mean they're down there with their good defense. It's just that offense has got to be able to work it out, and they've basically looked like they've just laid it all on the line. They're getting Donk Bonkers out there on a lot of swing passes, a lot of screens. They really want to get the ball in his hands. And if they're not throwing him screens or swing passes, they're usually about 3, 4, maybe even 5 wide receivers out there. And I agree with Rob. They're just slinging the ball all over the field, and Aaron Arrington's got his team in a pretty good flow here. They got just 2 weeks ago they started the week they're 1-4, and a lot of people had written them off. They beat my team Houston, and then they came back and they ended up beating San Francisco last week 28-20, and they've been able to kind of turn it around here. And if it continues on this trend, they could pause very easily and wind themselves up in that wild card. I don't know if they're going to beat out one of the other three teams above them for the second spot in the conference, but there's always that possibility. They already have one up on Houston. Um, I'm not sure what other team they have the tiebreaker on, if any, at the moment. But it's a very definite possibility that they could get themselves up there and put them in prime position as the last few games of the season come up against some prime choice opponents here. So they're definitely a team to keep an eye on. For Dallas, that offense has got to keep firing. It's just right now the defense for Dallas is just not it's not coming around. They got the worst points allowed in the Southern Conference. The worst point differential by 1 point at 51 to 50 for negative 51 to negative 50 for OKC down there. And the offense is just going to have to take over. They're going to have to just literally shoot and go. They got to just score big. They got to score fast, and they got to just outpace the opposing offenses if they're going to have a chance to wind up at 6-6 when they finish off this season. Um, Unfortunately, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that after this week. I've just got to give it to New Orleans, and it's going to put Dallas down to 1-7. And I believe a loss this week will statistically eliminate Dallas from the playoff chase. At least definitely in the Southern Conference. I mean, I don't know if I think possibly even the wild cards. I don't think there's another team that they could beat out to be able to hit the wild card after this week if they end up dropping this one. So we'll have to see.
I think by raw numbers, they might still be able to make it in theory. If they go like 5-7, there might be a small chance, but yeah, it's definitely possible they could get eliminated this week. But finally, this week, we head up to the ice, frigid cold of Anchorage, Alaska, in a game that probably some people said was going to be the season 10 championship between the Tulsa Desperados, one of the hottest teams in the league, and the Alaska Storm, who has beaten the only team that many have said could beat them twice. That's an issue. And Tulsa, riding high off a 4-game win streak. So, Rob, is Alaska going to be stopped this week, or will Tulsa just suffer that first L in a pretty long while?
I'm gonna root for the underdog here. I'm hoping that Tulsa can pull it through. At 4-4, they seem like a very strong team when you compare their record to the rest of the league here. Alaska again taking nothing away from them. That is just a very solid team. But Tulsa has a little bit of muscle to flex here. I think they can definitely use a W right here and make a statement if they can beat the Storm and let people know that they're also a contender as well. So we'll see. Again, I like everything that Alaska is doing. We all know what Cochran has accomplished and what the running game is doing, and the wide receivers. Everybody's all over the place, and it's that's just a really tough team to beat. However, the Desperados don't play around either on defense, and so I think it'll be a good game. Let's just see what Tulsa can do, and hopefully they can pull out that victory or that upset, I should say, against the competitive number one team, 8-0 Alaska Storm.
Already going for that pretty big upset. So now Ramos, we've now been beaten by them twice. Is there
Mhm.
anyone else, nevertheless Tulsa, who can beat them throughout the rest of this season?
I like what they've done as of late. I think that Tulsa is a very good team. Hopefully, it's not too late for them. I don't think it is, but they just have a really tough game at on the road against Alaska. I cannot bet against the Storm. I really can't. Um, Even though I really like the Tulsa Desperados, I really like their safeties. Sorry, I like the running back and everything. I will still give this game to the Storm. It's gonna be a low scoring affair, I think, but the Storm will be able to pull through in the fourth quarter late. I will not be surprised if like by halftime the Desperados will be winning, but this game by 2 or 3 points. But I think that by the end of the fourth quarter, by the fourth quarter, Alaska will just put the foot on the gas pedal, and they will just go ahead and win this ball game, probably about 16-10.
Already, and actually, since apparently there's some errors on Rob's end, he was accidentally streaming this, and if you are somehow watching this through Rob's stream, hi.
Jack,
What's up,
Jack, stop
SFL?
the madness, man.
Man.
No, there's absolutely no one on my Twitch right now, man.
we
Bro,
we
I
we pulled
just
a
checked.
Cam
I
Irvine,
said,
man.
what in the world? Why am I streaming this? Oh no, now we
Oh
have
goodness.
one viewer. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Oh, look, I'm a rookie in training, guys. So give me a break.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that
Oh
up because that's
man.
just something I find too hilarious right there. The fact that it's happening.
I mean, we pulled a
But
Cam
anyway,
Irvine back on the one-on-one interview with Dunhill, man. If it happened once, it was bound to happen again, right?
Oh, I know it, man. That's crazy.
uh, anyway, so before we go, Ryan, who are you giving this game to? Alaska or Tulsa?
I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Alaska. I mean, the team, even when they run into a defensive buzzsaw that is Mexico City, and I mean, you guys are a defensive buzzsaw. The defense of their own was able to limit the offense of Mexico City and basically win the game for them by holding Mexico City to only, I believe it was only 3 points with one field goal from the Golden Boot there, Cole Varner. And Alaska showed off their own Golden Boot there with Brad Burchett there. He put up 4 field goals, and like you said near the beginning of the podcast, Alaska out Mexico City there, and it's just if one thing doesn't work right for them, the other thing just goes off flawlessly. They seem their offense does finds an off week, the defense just comes alive and just stays on fire the entire game and just shuts an opposing offense down. Um, I I've run out of ways to think of how to beat these guys honestly right now. Like when you think the defense is not going to go, the offense just guns blazing leaves the other team behind by like 30 points, even though they give up like maybe 30 points themselves. Uh, when the offense kind of stutters, the defense goes, "Oh, it's our turn. Okay, we can play now." So, I don't know how you're gonna be able to take these guys down. Honestly, it's I honestly thought Mexico City had the best chance. Right now, I'm not really certain about Tulsa. Yes, they're the hottest team in the league currently outside of the undefeated teams. With having won 4 in a row, they were at 0 and 4. They're now 4 and 4 and put themselves in prime position. They just got to keep winning. They're going to be that second seed coming out of the South. And I kept saying it over in the Discord. I kept saying it to everybody. I said, don't count Tulsa out. Deion Hawkins showed last season he knows how to run the team. He started off, I believe it was 7-0 or 8-0 last season. He knows what he's
Eight
doing.
now.
He had a little bit, thank you. He had a little bit of a rough start this season, and he's figured it out. I mean, I hate to be toot my own horn there, but I told everybody you gotta keep an eye on these guys. They are going to catch fire, and they have caught fire right now. They have that 4 game winning streak. Although I don't see them beating Alaska this week. It's very possible in my eyes that they could end up 7-5 as well. They could very easily be well, not maybe not easily, but they could very well within their reach of the possibility of 7-5 when they finish this season in that second seed over there in the Southern Conference, on top of all the other teams who had a hotter start in the beginning. But Tulsa caught fire at the right time right now, and hopefully that continues past this week. But I gotta give it to Alaska. It's just an offensive juggernaut, and when the juggernaut finally kind of falls down, the defensive juggernaut rears its ugly head and just shuts you down. So um, I'm gonna actually probably say somewhere around 24 to 27 points for Alaska, probably somewhere around 9, maybe 12 points for Tulsa. They could Tulsa could really well surprise me and actually make this game very close, but I just feel Alaska's got too many weapons and too many tools that will just keep themselves edge above everybody else
And
they
too
come
many
across at the moment.
and
And
too many whooping.
and too many whooping.
Too
Too
many
many
women.
whooping. And then I mean and they have and in my opinion, I got to throw this out here. I know it's only week 9 right now. Alex Dominguez, he has been absolutely lights out this season on that defensive line. He moved from defensive end from last season back to his native defensive tackle position, and he has just been an absolute beast against opposing quarterbacks. Let me see here. He's gotten, I want to say, yeah, 26 sacks. He has over double the next person in the entire league. The next person in the league is Taquan Hale and William Davidson out of Tallahassee Pride and London Knights, and they only have 11. He's got 26 and a half sacks through 9 weeks, or through 8 weeks even. So it's just insane, honestly. Like this guy, you put an offensive line in front of him. Actually, I didn't even see the offensive line. All I saw was him taking your quarterback down. That's basically all it came down to. So,
Oh,
and in my opinion, this guy right now, if he's not in the talks for actual MVP of the year, not just defensive player of the year, I I, I may as well just retire. I may as well just be done. Forget y'all. I'm out of here.
it is now. Is that what's the word for that? Is that a deal you're gonna make with the SFL? That if he doesn't win at least defensive play of the year, you're gonna retire? This is gonna be a thing, Ryan.
You
Gonna
know
be
what? If he's not in at least the talks for MVP, I'll put it that way. If he is at least not on the ballot for MVP of this season, I will retire this player.
oh, okay, folks. And now we also play this game to see if Cam actually cares about you as a person.
Oh, I see. I see how it is. Come on now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm only the guy who leads the entire league in tackles per game by 1.3 games over Slim Shady, the highest paid defensive player in the league.
This is
Or
true.
yeah,
This
he
is
is.
true.
Okay,
All
okay,
right, all
okay.
right.
We do.
I'll give that to you. You a good player. All right.
Yeah, yeah. So you better give me a defensive player of the year nomination, Cam. Okay,
Oh,
I've
that's
been
right.
screwed out of this. I've
I'm
been
here.
screwed out of this.
I'll talk awards right now, real fast. Quintus Shine, Slim Shady, Jack Brown, uh, Alex Dominguez. Out of those four, there needs to be at least Jack Brown and at least Alex Dominguez, as least as of right now. Having one game less than everyone else, Jack, you do have the most tackles per game at literally almost a full two. You're at 1.3, like you said. And in my opinion, you are one of the best defensive linebackers in the game. Um, Slim Shady, he's up there. Quintus Shine, he's a perennial top 10, top 3, even top 5 around that area for tackles in the season. And you're everywhere you need to be. I'll be honest. I'll talk awards right now.
Okay, so yes, I'll give you the paycheck. I think in the next couple weeks. Anyways, now with that, everybody, thanks for tuning in to the SFL podcast for this week, presented to you by APM Music through this lovely power that we call YouTube. I am your host, Jack Brown, and alongside Ryan Michaels, Ramos Lynn, and Rob Roby, I seriously need to change my name to something with an R. Um, and thank
Rat.
you for tuning in to this week's SFL podcast, and have a great weekend full of SFL football.